It is gone. No brackets for anyone.
Brackets don't exist.
Okay.
Oh, I guess Mike lost it. Kind of
I did
shouldered
lose.
his heat.
Well, that's going to be an interesting topic then.
Yeah, it's really gone, guys.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. But sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
But therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know? I mean, is it like gone, or just like sort of gone?
Well, it's gone. I could.
Oh God, that clears it up so much. I understand.
It's gone.
It didn't go away for the weekend and gonna come back later. It just decides to leave for the rest of existence.
Maybe it was taking itself to a proofreader. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, it's gone. I don't know where the hell it went.
are you sure you really made a bracket, Mike?
I
Are you
did.
positive?
I don't know how in the world it's not on my computer anymore.
Are you sure you didn't make nothing? Because that seems
We're not
approximately
accusing
what
you
we
of
have.
lying about all the work you did, but
I swear, guys, I did all this work this week before the show, like to get ready, that I can't find.
Oh, I alluded to it on Facebook and everything.
Yeah, it was an elaborate prank. I mean, it's
we got pumped. Damn it.
No, it was a bracket about the best holidays for food. Is what it
wait,
was.
why are all our brackets about food and holidays?
I enjoy food, I guess.
So instead of doing this bracket is about the best food for Thanksgiving, it was this bracket is about the best holiday for food.
I figured Thanksgiving was going to win hands down, but the whole idea behind this was I love Super Bowl food.
Right.
Well, does the Super Bowl really have food?
Oh, absolutely, the Super Bowl has food.
I
Are you
mean,
kidding
the
me?
Super Bowl
like 7-layer
has
dip and
it,
stuff like
it
that.
has food, but I would not, for one, consider the Super Bowl a holiday. Granted, I celebrate it
Best
like it's
days.
one, but
I was just going to say best days, I think is how I worded it.
oh, best days. Okay, that's because I was thinking like 4th of July, but I think you would mix that 4th of July food in with Super Bowl food.
What is
Right.
4th of July? Really, it's just hot dogs and hamburgers, right?
Anything you can grill.
So is Memorial Day and
and-
Labor Day. And
Yes. Go on.
so how do you rate those?
What would be the different food you would have on the? Now I just want to know. Like, okay, we don't have a bracket. Fuck the bracket. What is Super Bowl food to you?
Chicken wings and nacho chip dip and little beans and or not beans and franks, but little wieners and barbecue
Little
sauce
beans
and
and franks. But so those types of food, when else
Mhm.
would you eat them besides on the Super Bowl?
what's that?
When else would you
When
eat
else
them?
do you eat them? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Whenever the hell you
Generally
feel like it.
speaking, only major sporting event days.
Not
It-
4th
it-
of July days.
I don't think so. Not necessarily that concoction. Actually, we just talked about how hot dogs and hamburgers are kind of traditional 4th of July barbecue food, not chili and
But I mean, like,
wings.
for the Super Bowl, the things that you eat for the Super Bowl, right? You could pretty much eat for any game. Like, it doesn't even have to be football. Like, oh, you want to watch the basketball game? Yeah, let's make some wings. Hey, you want to watch that soccer game? Okay. I
Hey, you want
guess.
to go to Billy's
Then we'll
Little
have some-
League?
we'll have
You want to go to
some
Billy's Little
nachos.
League practice? Yeah, sure. Let's eat some like hot dogs and hamburgers and
slice.
nachos.
I could also put a turkey in the oven tomorrow. That doesn't mean
Good.
anything. Just because you can eat
People will
it.
call you crazy.
I need
But
turkey.
I only want once a year, anyways.
I'd eat turkey anytime.
Yeah, turkey is the least of the
No,
birds. Well,
I
maybe not
love
the least
turkey sandwiches and stuff, but yeah, outside of Thanksgiving, just seems like nah, it's way too much effort. I don't know why it's more than any other meat. If you don't cook like, a whole turkey, just like a turkey breast, you just throw it in the oven like you do chicken.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's exactly the same as chicken. It's just not as prevalent.
But
I don't know
chicken's
why.
better because chicken's better.
Do you really
I got
think
a
chicken's
question for
better?
you.
I do.
I do sometimes. I got a question for you. Okay, so you go to a Renaissance fair. You used to work at one, Jeff.
That is
Um,
correct.
Are turkeys an American bird, or is it like used to be in Europe? Because I'm pretty sure Europeans didn't eat any turkey. But as you always see them at like Renaissance fairs, like, oh, you got to get a turkey leg because that's what they ate. But obviously, that's a lie. I'm pretty sure turkeys are native to America.
But
So, all right. So Mark always catches me with these questions, and I hate it because I think I know something, and then I always second guess myself when he brings it up.
I'm hoping
But
you're about to say what I'm thinking in my head. So,
I thought turkeys were brought over.
oh, I
I
wasn't
was
thinking anything about that. I was more thinking, does the Renaissance Festival have to be based in a different country? Did we not have
well,
Renaissance times in America?
Well, I mean, I think Renaissance was like
no,
pre 1800s. I think they're like 16,
Well, it
14.
could have been, but in America during that time frame, I mean, was there not a Renaissance time? I guess my so I
it
guess
wasn't like
my,
knights and things like that.
yeah, my I guess my historical view is skewed because I keep thinking of those movies that like those time travel movies, and they always end up in the Renaissance time, and I never thought about the fact that they always go back in time like from American soil, and they end up
Right.
in this Renaissance medieval time.
Yeah,
I
they
guess
should end up like in Native America,
yeah,
American Indian tribal societies or
I
whatever.
never ever thought of that before until you just said that. That
Hmm.
huh.
No, I mean, obviously, there's no castles around America and things like that.
That is so crazy to me. Like, how did I never piece that together? Like, I was just in France this last year too, and one of the things that we were doing was going and seeing some of the castles and stuff around the countryside, and it never crossed my mind that oh look, these people who get sent back in time in all these movies and end up in this castle village. I was just like, oh, they're somewhere in America back in back in the day.
Wait, you always thought they were in America in the
Well, I guess like
European
it was. Well, so where is the
time?
movie? Let's Evil Dead. Where's Evil Dead take place? That's American based, right?
He starts off in an American cabin. He gets sucked into a vortex, and I always assumed that he landed in medieval Europe, like maybe even England, because they were speaking English. I think they actually had like some Scottish people, like
So
a tribe of Scottish people.
he's not only time traveling, he's actually traveling across the globe as well.
Oh,
Maybe the time travel is because based on the world spinning.
yeah.
I was just going to say, technically, he might not have been
Okay.
in space at all.
Well, if you're talking about the world spinning, you also have to talk about the world moving in outer space. So most likely you would end up like in the vacuum of space back in time.
Dude, Bruce Campbell was lucky as hell. Like, who'd have thought of that? He happened to time travel to a different place on the globe at the same, or a different orbit, or no, excuse me, the same orbit, but a different revolution.
All right.
Wow.
And because like the chances of actually landing on land on the planet Earth, terra firma, is very small. Like it's like what, 25%, 30%?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. And then like you got the whole spinning across like a whole year's worth. So it's like
Yeah,
the
the odds are
right
crazy
day.
against him.
So
Sure.
Martin Lawrence in Black Knight had the same luck.
Right.
I guess we wouldn't have movies about people who didn't have the same luck because the story wasn't as good.
Well, you know,
'Cause
the story.
It'd be a short movie.
It would be a very
Yeah.
short movie, yeah. Wow, I never thought about how lucky those guys were.
Well, I
But-
mean, it blew my mind when I found out like Italian pizzas basically didn't have tomatoes back in the day because tomatoes came from America, and I was like, what? Tomatoes came
Well,
from?
pizza actually originated in, I believe, New York. I'm
But
99% sure it was somewhere in America that
like
I
tomato
believe it
base.
was New York that they started making. No. Pizzas in general were started in New York. It's just like a gyro or a gyro or a hero, if you want to call it the wrong thing.
Okay,
Gyro started somewhere in not no, excuse me, not America, but not in Greece, where
hmm.
everybody says that, like, gyros are Greek. They're not. They were from like Spain or something like that. I don't remember exactly where. Spain's just like throwing a country out there, but it was some place that people did not expect that they were from.
Well, I also learned that croissants aren't from France. They're from a different country completely, and the reason why it's croissant shape is they were making fun of like Egyptians. You know how they have typically have the a crescent moon. They were making
Yeah.
fun of their flag basically by making the croissant into that shape, and the French were like, "Yeah, we'll take that," and then they're like, "No, now it's ours."
So did French fries come from not
No, they're
France?
Belgian.
Are
Yeah,
they really
French fries
Belgian?
doesn't come from. Yeah, the reason why they're called French fries is when the Americans came to France, they were eating the French fries, and they were like, I mean, we're eating these fried potatoes, and they're like, these are awesome. And we're in France.
They're French fries. Well, I knew they weren't from France. I just didn't know they were from Belgium. I guess
I'm pretty sure that they're from Belgium,
that's a little easier to swallow because Belgium is so close to France, at least.
right? Like, and like for me, like I'm living in Japan, and tempura is basically Dutch in origin because the Dutch came to Japan and they taught the Japanese how to fry food. So that's where you get tempura from.
And then America made deep fried pizza.
Yes, we did.
And bacon wrapped pizza. Oh my God, when I was just in Michigan, I saw the Little Caesars ads for the bacon wrapped crust.
Bacon
And
crust.
I saw those and I just looked at Julie and I was like, we gotta
So,
go. We gotta go. And she was like, no, we can't go. That's so bad for you. And I'm like, that's why we have to go. It looks so good.
so, so what I want to know is if 15-year-old me would have thought a bacon wrapped pizza was a great idea, or if it's just like, no, that's totally nuts because somewhere between my teenage years and now, wrapping everything in bacon seems like a really great idea. Like, yes, of course. Why didn't we think of hot dogs wrapped in bacon beforehand or pizza bacon?
Well, we did though.
See
Remember,
that.
we had those war dogs, Dave's war dogs. Remember
Oh,
Dave from
so
college?
yeah, yeah, because that was really unhealthy.
Oh, heck yeah, it was like a hot dog wrapped in bacon, deep fried, and then breaded and deep fried again, and then that was wrapped in bacon and then re-breaded and deep fried yet again. Like it was the
Right.
triple deep fried like hot dog type of deal. And well, I think just I think it's just changed from there was a time when all the cooking stuff was just getting started, like when Iron Chef was
Hmm.
still a Japanese syndicated show that just made it to
Right.
America. So people started getting into that culinary scene. It, it
I like
was.
your theory. Your theory, Iron Chef, where you have these culinary chefs making these intricate, very detailed, high-class meals, and because America's like, yeah, we can do that too. Let's just cover everything in bacon.
Well, no, but I'm saying, whoops, sorry, I hit my mic. At that time, though, I believe that if the concept of things covering in bacon, there was a cross between this culinary outbreak about to happen in America, as well
Hmm.
as this health craze that was about to start in America. And I don't mean crazes and everybody turned healthy. I mean crazes and everybody started looking at everything that was bad. So you had this downplay in things like bacon wrapped items, but this upplay in culinary like perfection, but then culinary perfection has turned into like bacon wrapped things as a culinary like super idea from a conceptual standpoint, from a taste standpoint.
Is it really though?
Yeah,
I don't think bacon crust pizza is going to be around for a very long time.
I disagree with you, sir. It will be around in my in my fat cells for years to come.
I actually do think we've sort of, here in America, at least we're more health conscious than we were 5 years ago. Now, I don't think we're where we need to be, for
But
sure.
most of our food's a lot unhealthier than it used to be as well. So that's like,
Right.
then we're healthier, but also eat a lot shittier food.
Well, but I think people are starting to come around to that idea. I think before it was just like we thought everybody had our best interest in health in mind, and now I think we see past a lot of the, well, this is made from all natural stuff, where really it's all GMO crap, and I think we're sort of wising up a little bit to what's going on with the food industry now, and I think maybe 10, 15 years you're really going to see some changes.
See, I think the opposite. I would say that what's happening is we're giving up. We're like, see, nothing that even when we try to eat healthy at McDonald's or something, it's so unhealthy. So you just eat whatever you want because it's all going to be bad for you.
See, I agree with 10 to 15 years from now, there might be a big change. I think we're in that transition time frame now, though, where you have the big argument with the people who think they're better than everybody who says organic is the way to go and won't eat anything that's not organic, because non-organic things have like pesticides and antibiotics and how bad that is for you. And then you deal with something like the Chipotle E. coli outbreak. There's such a weird transitional phase that people are so skewed on one side or the other that I think 10 to 15 years from now, we might have more of that figured out. But I think there's going to be a hard road to come until then.
Well, that's kind of the direction I was going, was that I think we're on the right trail. We've kind of picked up the scent that Chipotle and places like that are sort of the way to go. But now, obviously, we got some kinks to work out in that whole scenario, because they haven't figured out a way to, go from farm to table in a safe way,
But
across
Chipotle is horrible for you, though. I mean, the Chipotle is horrible for you. Like, eating there is just like eating a war dog, basically.
Well, a lot of it depends what you get. It depends what you get anywhere you go for the most, well, except for like McDonald's or something. Like, I don't think you can really eat healthy at McDonald's, but.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely.
Why?
How can you not eat healthy at McDonald's? They have salad options. They have.
What do they coat that salad with to keep it in a refrigerator for months?
Wait, so it's not organic. So now you're complaining that it's not organic. So that's the thing, is there's a middle ground in between the two. I don't think if I ate salads at McDonald's every single day with a nice low-fat dressing or something like that, I guarantee to you I would lose weight.
I believe that, but you'd probably get cancer in 20 years.
I disagree. I disagree with that completely.
Wait, so I think, are you like really against GMOs? Is that what it is?
I just think I think a lot of the fast food industry, not even the fast food, I don't want to put such a fine point on it, but I think a lot of people for a lot of years have been, doing whatever they want to food, not really worrying about what happened in the future to people. And I think that's going to turn here in not too long. I think people are wising up to that. And I think we're going to start demanding more. I know a lot of people now, well, myself included actually, who are, and I think I might have talked about this on this podcast before, how I am almost completely done buying meat from grocery stores. Because
you catch your own meat? Is that what you're saying? You're in the backyard with the bow and arrow, you're like, damn, screw grocery stores.
No, but there's plenty of farms where you can buy like steroid-free, beef and chicken and things like that. And I think that's going to become a thing here again. 15 years down the road, it's going to take a while. But
why? Let me ask, why? Why do you think you need steroid-free meat?
I don't think I need it, but I think it's better for you for sure.
Why? That's my question. Why is it better for you? Has anybody ever explained this? Nobody's explained it to me. I hear it all the time, especially out here in D.C. Everybody needs to have, they're organic, non-GMO, steroid-free stuff from the CSA because it's better. Why is it better? Because it is.
So they have some data. Is it 100% accurate? No, probably not. I mean, let's be honest. We don't know. We can't really 100% sure trace what's happened over the last 30 years.
Okay, that's fine.
But
So what's the data say?
Yeah.
So
'cause-
they have data that sort of links when we started just going to town on putting steroids in everything we eat to puberty happening earlier and earlier and cancer rates going up. And again, is this a coincidence? I don't know. I don't think
I
so,
mean-
but it could be. It's impossible to say for sure one way or another. But why take the chance?
So
Because-
actually, for me,
Because
go ahead.
I was going to say because of Chipotle.
Well,
I
and
mean,
again, Chipotle-
that's the thing is you go the other extreme from no steroids, no antibiotics, all that stuff, and all of a sudden you have an E. coli outbreak. Yes, E. coli can spread in many different things. They haven't traced back, as far as I know, they still haven't traced back exactly what caused the Chipotle E. coli outbreak. And I'm not against Chipotle for that. I understand that stuff happens. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but it does happen. But that's the thing is we did this for a reason. Some of the reason is, yes, because we can get more faster and sell it for cheaper. Some of it is because putting antibiotics on these type of things is stopping bacteria from growing on these type of things.
Well, it's also making viruses untreatable with modern medicine.
Right,
Well,
so yeah,
not
there's
virus,
multiple
bacteria.
different. Yeah, it's that balance that's not quite worked out yet. But I don't think
well,
going the whole other
so-
direction is the way to go.
So for me, like steroids is not that big of a deal when it comes to animals, and because I mean we actually also make our own natural steroids, right? So artificial and not artificial, how much of an effect that has? The EPA says there's very little correlation between the two. When it comes to GMOs, the EPA says there's zero correlation between any kind of ill effects with genetically modified food. The only thing that I would probably say is that antibiotics given to animals are horrendous for the future of mankind, but that's not because of what we're eating. It's because it does what it does to the bacteria, creating like basically super bacteria that we can't treat, and then we'll all die from that. But and there's actually a lot of cases starting to happen in China because of this. But really, GMOs, there hasn't been any real, actually peer-reviewed cases where they showed GMOs has any effect on us. And then with adding steroids and stuff, I mean, of course, naturally, we don't want to have a whole bunch of artificial chemicals added into us. But really, when you think about it, anything that you eat is chemicals. That's basically all we're taking in to our bodies, right?
Isn't that a problem?
No, because like
No.
no,
I'd
why
rather not
would it
eat
matter?
a bunch
Why
of-
would it matter? Like when you drink water, what is that? That's a chemical, H2O. It's basically all these
Well,
bonds. Yeah, It is.
C6H12O6. Bam.
right. Alcohol, right? But I mean,
unfortunately, you're taking in a whole bunch of chemicals you don't need in your body or want.
but how do you know?
Yeah, yeah, how do you know I don't want them? Or
No, I mean,
mean,
I'm not saying that there aren't chemicals that could affect us, right? But like a lot of the foods that we eat do go through a rigorous process, and I tend to take the government's word over a lot of these other
That's a
scientific
horrible
cases
choice.
that aren't. Because
That is a
those
horrible
cases
decision
are-
you're making there.
Well, I mean, what organization do you trust over the EPA or the Food Drug Administration? Because I mean, the government's job is to, let's say, have. No, I don't think they do as well of a job as they could, but their job is to look at these cases and they look at what happens, and before they approve stuff, they make sure that they have scientific proof that's peer reviewed before they allow it. Now, a lot of the things that you read, it says, "Oh, there's this link and this link." Well, who did these studies? What relation did they have to the companies that are pushing what agendas? Are they peer reviewed? Are they backed up by colleges or whoever doing these studies? Because I mean, that's a lot of things that you see on the internet. They're like, coffee beans are going to cure your cancer, or chocolate will cure your smoking addiction or something like that. A lot of this stuff is not actually peer reviewed. They're just stuff written by people, put up on scientific journals, which you can even publish a scientific journal. So that's why I
that
think,
would be something to read right there if I published a
See, that's what
scientific.
that's what they really
but,
need right now, though, is like they have crowdfunding and crowdsourcing for all this stuff. Some way to have like a crowd sourced campaign about what is good or what is bad for you. And granted, it wouldn't be that easy because you can't just take like, any Joe Schmo and, take input that is not medically or scientifically based at all. It'd be a whole different study and a way to have to go about things. But the counterpoint I see to Mark's argument, though I agree with Mark's argument, is the fact that the FDA and all the government agencies, not all, okay, many government agencies have been shown to sway one way or the other based on who's paying their tax dollars and who's
well,
in the presidential seats and things like that. So it unfortunately,
They're
I
biased,
agree
just like
with
every other government agency.
yeah, I
Well, I
agree with the big agency like that more than just the random person that I read the forum of on, some diet website, but there's also still problems with it. So
yeah, and it's really weird because like I understand your position on why you don't trust the FDA as much as you should because of like how they do their experiments. Because I totally think that basically the government should force companies to pay the FDA to do the studies on the companies. And what it's now is the FDA is way underfunded, and they're forced to let the companies do the experiments, and they review the experiments done by the companies before they would approve it. And that's how drug companies and stuff push a lot of things that they probably wouldn't get away with if the FDA was doing the testing. But as far as I can tell, their studies are a lot more peer reviewed than almost any other source. And if you say like, oh, well, we should all crowdfund like a company to do it, why would you trust theirs any more than the EPA's? I mean, how do you know if Monsanto's not paying? Oh yeah, I kicked in $100 million to this.
1,000 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money they invest. I mean, like $100 million. I'm pretty much sure whatever Monsanto says is what they're going to put out in the report, right? So it doesn't matter if it's crowns.
Well, and that's very true, but and that's where I almost would rather read all available information, kind of rate it in my brain based on who said it and why I think they said it and what evidence they have backing it up. And I mean, the long and short of it comes down to if I can have lettuce that was sprayed with pesticides or not sprayed with pesticides, which one do I want? I mean, really, and it's the same thing with meat.
I don't want pesticides in my body. So if I eat lettuce that had pesticides on it, I don't want whatever the pesticide was stopping in my body. So if I eat the lettuce with the pesticides on it, I don't have pests in my body, right? I mean,
well, and this very well could be sort of my dad instincts going up too, because I never really, you guys know how I used to eat. I never felt like this until I had small kids who I'm worried about what they're taking into their body.
Yeah, you really shouldn't because they eat crayons and stuff. So they worse stuff than you do.
But Mark, the crayons are not sprayed with pesticides, so therefore they're organic. There's no steroids.
Well, they're
in
gluten-free.
crayons.
They're gluten-free crayons, I guess.
No GMOs.
Right.
They're the perfect meal, actually. Now that I think about it, it's going to be a crayon diet, and every day of the week we can have a different color to keep variety. So
Right.
people will be happy.
Yeah, it's scary. We got so much crap going on in the world. The world's nasty. Nobody live in the world.
The world is nasty.
I mean, I don't know. I think like stuff that was sold like 50 years ago probably was way worse for us than now.
Well, yeah, so since I was just in Michigan, then it's kind of funny that you say that because I was in Flint and we were talking about the Flint water crisis. We talked about this on couple shows
Flint
ago
water.
or whatever. A lot of people from there were telling me that it's kind of funny that the water is actually not as bad as what the regulations were. It would have passed the regulations 25 years ago. Whereas it's that the regulations have gotten more strict about the amount of lead in the water that's actually causing such a problem, not the fact of this ridiculously increased lead amount in the water. I don't know truth to this, but it's funny that this is something that they're saying like 25 years ago, this would have passed all the tests and been completely acceptable water, and now it's some big deal. And I don't know the truth to that. I'm just telling you what was told to me while I was there.
So, all right, so it's possible that 25 years ago it could have passed code because they weren't completely aware how dangerous lead was.
Mm-hmm.
But you had
but
there was just one of the major Detroit stations just did like I think it was an hour and a half long like special on the Detroit or Flint water crisis. And, you know, as somebody who owns a home in Flint, like I've seen this firsthand, but the water is it's horrible. I mean, you can look at it and know this is not something I should be putting in my body.
Well,
it's foul.
Another thing about the looking at it is completely different than, because the lead's not going to actually show up like physically looking at the water. All the brown water and things like that you see pictures of is actually mud and things like that in the water, which is foul and bad. But that's actually for a different problem. It's when like pipes have leaks in them or anything like that, the Venturi effect actually sucks in sediment from around the pipes and is going to do that whether there's a lead problem or not. I mean, they're like two completely different issues that are being kind of like meshed into one.
So let me just bring back this 25-year past the regulation. I have a hard time believing that because before that was the big switch between diesel cars to basically regular engine cars, the switching gasoline because
from leaded gas to unleaded gas.
Because the government found out it's really, 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 really bad to use diesel vehicles because the lead in the air was basically like poisoning everyone in America because the air, you just breathed in all the lead.
All right. Well, so you've seen, now you're an old enough guy that you've seen how the government operates. Would you find it hard to believe that the red tape around the water lead acceptable limits didn't take a while to meet up?
Yeah, but I think the switch was way before 25 years.
Well, I was throwing a number out there from people telling me when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what they
maybe
meant
60,
by when they were
70 years. Yeah. Because I mean, when 25 years, we were kids then, and they wouldn't they were trying to get rid of all the lead in the paints, right? From old houses.
Right.
So I'm sure the government had a lot of regulations on lead, including water at that time. So maybe like 60, 70 years ago, that might be a valid point.
Well, so it's very interesting, Mike, because you actually do own a house in Flint, and I forgot the fact that you owned a house in Flint and you weren't just out in Detroit going, oh, Flint, blah, 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 because you actually own a house there that has the Flint water. Mm-hmm. To listen to most of the people that I was talking to in the week that I was back in town, most of the people were talking about how they're very upset that the media has blown this so out of proportion and it's not nearly as big of a problem as
that's crazy.
Everybody's saying.
Those people you're talking to are completely insane.
Okay. I mean, I don't know any better. I was just...
The people you were talking to, they were actually living in Flint or living around the Flint area?
Couple of them living in Flint, dealing with the Flint water
in the city.
Because people in Grand Blanc might say, "Well, it's nothing."
And that's the thing that I don't know if they were fed by Flint water or not, because that's a smaller sect of people living in Flint being fed by Flint water. Because just because you even have a Flint address, I don't believe means that you're getting on the Flint main line. Right. My parents are a suburb outside of Flint, and they have a well because we're not in any district water system. So they don't have to worry about it because they have a well system at their own house. I don't know how many of these people that are talking about this have the same situation or what the deal is. I've heard multiple NPR stories on it while I was there too, which are completely, the how bad it really is side, as opposed to the it's not as bad as they say side. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted because that was not what I was expecting from people in Flint.
Well, I know that even before the scandal really got huge, like over a year ago, factories in Flint were switching, that did auto parts and stuff, were switching the water they use because they're like, can't use this water, it's unclean.
Yep. And my tenants, it's a younger couple with a couple young kids. Both their young girls had huge rashes all over their bodies from bathing in the water. Like it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
Right.
Do you have a good filter in your house?
We bought them, but so we actually bought the filter, I don't know, a year and a half ago when sort of this stuff was first sort of coming out. But now they're saying the lead levels are so high that filters aren't even working.
Well, and there was something about a big mainline break recently that has basically caused the current filters to be basically over-contaminated already because of this mainline break and how much came through at one time that all the filters had to be replaced anyway immediately after. But I don't know, because I'm speaking random gibberish of things I've heard back and forth.
Yeah, it's just
all hearsay.
It is. It really is all hearsay to me.
I unfortunately have to see it firsthand. You know, thank God we got out when we did. But man, I feel so bad for this family who's renting our house right now. Like,
and what do you do?
We're trying to stay on top of it. You know, imagine how many renters in the city of Flint don't have people trying to stay on top of it. You know, we're dropping off cases of water to try to help these people out and stuff like that. But you know, think of like the kinds of landlords that don't do anything like that. And I know we're not even doing enough. You know, it's impossible to do enough for these because, you know,
well,
I think
you can't. You
just have to dig a well.
Enough. Yeah, unless you dug a well, you can't do enough. I don't even know if you can dig a well in Flint. I don't even know if you're allowed to.
Well, and these guys said between not even like taking baths, but just washing their children and you know, trying to do what they have to do on a daily basis, they need like a case and a half of bottled water a day.
Right.
You know, that's crazy to try to sustain that level, you know, of buying water and things like that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to take a shower, just like open a bottle of water and just like
right. I can't imagine what they're dealing with. It's awful, absolutely awful. In 2016 America, this is happening, and it's been happening at this point for what, 2 years? It's crazy.
But you know, 20 years from now, we'll probably be saying the exact same thing about another city. So
well, I guarantee we will be, because the infrastructure is all the same. It's just it's worse in Flint now because of.
Yeah,
it's sort of weird that thinking back in the day, and this is even when they had case studies of what lead does to people. They're like, yeah, let's make our pipes that we get our water from with lead. That seems like a good, and I don't know, it just seems like a really bad idea.
Well, I'm sure the infrastructure was put in long before those studies, though.
Right, I was going to say, isn't this the government agencies that you've been saying you completely trust in this whole episode?
The EPA was like, lead pipes for all.
Right. Well, that's why you have these cases.
Asbestos houses, lead pipes everywhere.
But I'm pretty sure, like, the business selling the pipes were like, no, these were completely safe.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind.
And it just took the EPA a while to do the case studies. Like, well, we think it might kill people. We got to wait 30 years to see the effect.
I'm interested to see how that study is going to come back on the nuclear waste built daycare center. Let's hope that one goes well for him. You know, it's.
All right, guys, should we call this an episode?
Call this an episode, folks.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Good times.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Another upbeat episode by us. See you guys next week.